Everyone has their staple cozy films, the serial slashers, the never-ending franchises, and the titles claiming to be ripped from the headlines. But beneath those famous titles lies another current of horror. The strange, stylistic, and frequently ignored films that captured the decade's restless energy better than any blockbuster. Tonight, we're heading back to the 1970s to uncover 10 underrated masterpieces that absolutely belong in your rotation. Dim the lights, pour something warm, or wicked, and let's begin. Some movies are too delightfully bizarre to ever fade away. Psychomania takes the biker gang rebellion of the early 70s and crashes it straight into the realm of the supernatural. Tom Latham is the leader of a motorcycle gang fittingly named the Living Dead. When his occult-dabbling mother informs him that resurrection is possible through sheer force of will, he decides to test it by riding his bike off a bridge, only to roar out of his own grave, undead and leather jacket intact. Soon the whole gang follows his lead, committing suicide in absurd ways just to return and terrorize the living. It's part punk, part pop art, and a finale that feels like a seance held at a drag race. No other film captures that mix of rebellion, absurdity, and afterlife swagger quite like this one. It shouldn't work, and somehow it's glorious. Imagine if Clue, the most dangerous game, and the Wolfman had a glorious, chaotic collision. You'd get The Beast Must Die, a fun hybrid of a murder mystery, black exploitation cinema, and supernatural whodunit. Calvin Lockhart plays a millionaire hunter who invites a select group of guests to his country estate, then announces that one of them is secretly a werewolf. Hidden cameras, silver bullets, and paranoia ensue. Halfway through, the film employs an absurd gimmick. A werewolf break freezes the action, giving the audience a full minute to try and solve the mystery. It's theatrical, preposterous, and endlessly entertaining. A drive-in game show spliced into a horror film. Only the 70s could have been this bold and believed it would work. Next comes a film that replaces pure horror with doomed philosophy. The Asphyx follows Robert Powell as a Victorian scientist who is convinced that every person has a personal spirit of death, the Asphyx, that can be captured and caged. Working with his colleague, played by Robert Stevens, he attempts to imprison this force and thus unlock the secret to eternal life. The result is less terrifying and more deeply tragic. Their dark experiments glow with ghostly blue light. Mortality becomes a mere clockwork mechanism, as if life and death were a parlor trick. It's slow, stately, and full of gothic melancholy. If you like your Halloween with a dose of doomed curiosity and candlelit science, the Asphyx deserves resurrection. By the mid-70s, Hammer Films was struggling like one of its own reanimated corpses. Then came Captain Kronos, a swashbuckling burst of imagination from writer-director Brian Clemens. Instead of lurking castles and fainting maidens, we get a dashing, sword-toting hero who hunts the undead across Europe, accompanied by his trusted hunchbacked companion and a wanderer named Carla. Here, vampires don't just drink blood. They drain youth itself. It's part myth, part adventure. Shot through with that unmistakable Hammer glamour, velvet capes, crimson skies, and music you can almost smell. Kronos never became the franchise it should have, but in retrospect, it's one of the studio's sharpest fangs. While America chased slashers, Britain kept the anthology format alive through Amicus Productions, and From Beyond the Grave is their crown jewel. The structure uses Peter Cushing's antique shop, Temptations Limited, as a sinister hub for the four linked stories. Each customer makes a purchase and, inevitably, a terrible bargain. David Warner buys a mirror that reveals a sinister reflection. Donald Pleasance gifts a suitor a dagger and a curse. Ian Ogilvy installs a mysterious door that opens to another dimension. And Margaret Leighton steals the show as a dizzy clairvoyant, attempting to exorcise an invisible elemental clinging to a dinner guest. There's no gore, just creeping dread, irony, and candlelight. It's the perfect fireside anthology, comfortably British and faintly poisonous. If the previous entry made you chuckle, this one will make you truly squirm. Frightmare, directed by Pete Walker, takes British politeness and feeds it through a meat grinder. Dorothy Yates, recently released from an asylum, lives quietly in the countryside with her husband Edmund. Quietly, that is, until she starts offering tarot readings that end with power drills and bones. Her husband covers for her, their children are oblivious. A gentle smile. Sheila Keith's performance is both grandmotherly and grotesque, making her a cult icon overnight. The original poster asked, "Dare you see the film that shocked the critics?" A bold claim that the movie certainly lived up to. Even now, the calm cruelty of Frightmare feels like eavesdropping on madness through lace curtains. With a minuscule budget of just $30,000, The Child proves atmosphere beats budget every single time. It begins like a traditional ghost story with a young governess arriving at a fog-shrouded farmhouse to care for a girl named Rosalie. But Rosalie is no ordinary child. She can raise the dead. Soon, skeletal hands rise from the soil, answering her every sulky whim. Director Robert Voskanian compensates for threadbare sets with moody lighting, whispering winds, and enough fog to choke a graveyard. Is it scary? Sometimes. Is it cheap? Definitely. But its rough edges only make it feel more like something cursed you discovered on an unlabeled VHS. A low-budget seance that shouldn't work, but somehow does. No countdown of 70s horror is complete without the master Vincent Price. Vincent Price stars as the brilliant but disfigured Dr. Phibes, who executes elaborate vengeance on the surgeons he blames for his wife's death, using the biblical plagues of Egypt as his grotesque blueprint. Every killing is an art installation. Gold lacquered masks, mechanical orchestras, and organ concertos that echo like requiems. Director Robert Fuess treats the violence like choreography, part Art Deco, part delirium. It's equal parts horror, camp, and operatic tragedy. If the universal monsters were gothic poetry, Phibes is glam rock revenge, a macabre valentine wrapped in velvet and brass. Our runner-up pick is Undying. Dr. Phibes Rises Again continues Vincent Price's operatic crusade, this time trading the London setting for Egyptian sands as he seeks the river of life to revive his beloved wife. If the first Phibes was revenge as art, this is resurrection as pure theater. The color palette glows like stained glass. Every murder unfolds like a riddle written in blood and brass. Price plays Phibes less as a monster and more as a maestro conducting death itself. It's morbid, funny, and heartbreakingly beautiful, the perfect expression of a decade that loved its horror baroque. We end with a film that redefined the haunted house genre. Before haunted mansions were filled with CGI effects, there was The Legend of Hell House, a cold sweat seance that treated spiritualism like an experimental science. Written by Richard Matheson and directed by John Howe, the film follows a research team heading to the infamous unconquerable Mount Everest of haunted locations. Initially, it feels like a classic ghost tale. The furniture groans, objects move, and the obligatory black cat provides a jump scare. Then the house starts to reach back. Psychic experiments turn sensual, machinery built to measure the supernatural begins to behave like it's alive, and one of the team's wives is affected by phenomena so suggestive and intimate that it pushes the limits of its PG rating. It's a film about repression as much as possession. Slick, eerie, and strangely erotic, Hell House is everything you hope to find in a forgotten horror binge. Polite on the surface, possessed underneath. So there you have it. 10 forgotten nightmares from the 1970s that deserve another midnight screening. They may not have the name recognition of Halloween or The Exorcist, but each one captures a different shade of fear, elegant, eccentric, and utterly alive. If you're building your Forgotten Gems queue, slip one of these between the usual favorites and watch how quickly it haunts you afterward. Like the video, subscribe to Silver Shivers, and ring that bell so you never miss another descent into the archives of horror.